Hello, it is Angela, in case you didn't know. I apologize for my excessively dark looking eyes. I don't know why it's doing that. I think it's because down here it's just dark anyway. So I apologize. I am not demonic and or anything of the sort. It just appears like I have no eyes. But anyway, as you can see, I'm in a different dwelling than the last video. We moved to a much larger home, which was necessary if you can see the plethora of my son's stuff, and that's not even half of it. So we needed storage for my 4-year-old's things. But anyway, it's much bigger, it's much roomier, everybody has their own space, it's just perfect. And also, as you can see, my dog isn't randomly dwelling in the background. He has his own area also, so it works out. But anyway, I've gotten a lot of comments, especially on the video about dealing with shitty people. And, it was a very blunt video, and I thought it was really necessary because of, number one, the time in my life that I was at, just having to deal with a plethora of just shitty people over and over and over again. But also, it's something that everybody has to deal with. I mean, everybody has that shitty person in their life. Everybody. They may have 5, they may have 2, you never know. But I've gotten tons of comments on that, and how, it kind of, people were able to relate to that. And, that's my biggest thing, is I always want people to know that they can relate with me as a person. I'm not anything special. And as you can see, I don't dress in any kind of crazy attire, I just in my Iron Man shirt. And things like that. I'm down to earth. I'm like everybody else, and that's how I want all my clients, all my friends, everybody to view me as is, yeah, I work as a psychic and a medium and deal with spirits and talk to spirits. I actually had to cleanse my house, and tell somebody to get out, so I mean, yeah, I do things like that, but I'm also just like everybody else. So tonight, since I'm waiting on questions, I really want feedback from you guys. I'm not getting it, and I really want it. What are your questions? What do you want to know about what I do? I mean, I can answer things all day long, but I as funny as it sounds, I can't read your mind. So, tonight I want to talk about cleansing an area. And, a lot of people are open to their psychic abilities, but they shut out completely the medium aspect of it. And that's, a lot of that has to do with people don't want to be faced with that. And, there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just, tonight I'm going to pull out my Ouija board and try to connect with God only knows what. It's not like that. It's not, but on the same retrospect, you don't have crazies doing all kinds of random shit in your house unless there's something wrong with it, which that is a different story. But, typically you don't get stuff like that. But nonetheless, people shut it out. They don't want anything to do with it. And, the part of me wants to say that's for the better, because if you get somebody who doesn't know what the hell they're doing, then how do you know what you're calling in? I had a story where I had a best friend, actually he's still my best friend, and his parents had died, and he wanted, it was that we were in his house, me and his other mutual best friend, along with a few other people, and there was crazy stuff going on in the house, like the doors were opening and shutting, and so on and so forth. And I got together with my other best friend, MJ, shout out to you, and we were like, why don't we go figure it out? Let's go see what's going on. So we're making our way towards the bathroom. And there's a 16-year-old kid. He had to be 16. He was 15 or 16, whatever. It doesn't matter. And he was like, oh, I want to go. And I'm like, oh, God. I'm so glad that you really want to do this, but you don't know what you're doing. And I tried to explain that to him. I was like, there's a lot more that goes into this than just, sitting down and connecting with the dead. You really don't know what you're going to get. And I know that I'm protected. I know that my best friend here is protected because I protected him. But you don't know what you're doing. He insisted, absolutely insisted. I think he was in there 2 minutes. He got up and left. But, it's really, it's basic, you know, you have to know what you're doing as a medium to deal with spirits. If you don't know what you're doing, then you don't know what you're pulling in. And, you know, people laugh at these paranormal activity movies. That's so funny. You know, she just broke his neck. You know, of course, I was that person, sidetracking, I was that person that yelled profanity the entire movie. But you know, as you have that group that's all laughing at it, they think it's funny. That shit happens. That shit happens. And I don't think people realize that. I don't think people realize that with the good, there's always the bad. And no, you know, people don't get, you know, taken over all the time. You know, that's not your normal thing. Very rarely do you find an entity that is that strong, number one, but also is out to do that. Most of the time when I have, you know, people that are dealing with entities, they're just mischievous. They're not, you know, they're not satanic entities. They're not demonic. They're not anything that's going to be crazy or anything like that. But it does happen, like I said. And that's the biggest thing, and a lot of people's biggest fears. Oh my God, you know, what if I try to connect with somebody and some crazy demon comes through? Number one, that's unlikely to happen, but you should know how to protect yourself in that event. That being said, you know, I've worked with paranormal teams. I've seen all kinds of crazy. You know, I could tell you stories and stories and stories beyond stories of all the different experiences I've had with the other side. But the basic thing is what if, say you move in somewhere, like I moved in here. Say you moved in somewhere and you start noticing things going to shit quick. And, you know, people's moods are changing. You know, that's no dramatic effect. When you watch, like, Amityville Horror and you see he just kind of goes off the deep end, you know, all of a sudden he's this great, happy person, and then all of a sudden he's hiding out in a fucking shed with a shotgun, you know, and it's 3:15, you know, but you start noticing things like that. You start noticing people's demeanors changing. It's not because they're taken over, but rather because you've moved into a new house, or you're in a house where somebody's energy has literally just seeped into the walls. And that happens, you know, that feng shui or whatever, you know, it's called, it's true. Shit's true. You know, you have to, anything you admit, you know, if you're really pissed off at something and you're letting it all out, that gets sucked into the walls. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it truly does. And what happens is that energy just keeps on flowing like that, or it becomes stagnant and stuck. So again, back to the example, if you move into a new house and you start noticing demeanor changes with people, your kids are the number one teller if something's going on. You know, they start having nightmares. They start saying they see things. They start talking about people. You know, your baby just continuously cries, or something along those lines. When you see things like that happening, you know that something's more than likely up. You don't have to be psychic. You don't have to be any kind of psychic to deal with that. But that's one situation. Another situation would be living in a house where, you know, somebody in there is just toxic in a sense. You know, they're always negative, or they're always abusive. They're always just, you know, nobody wants to be around them. They're not fun. They're not fun people. That's the best way I know how to describe them. You know, they're always bitching about something. They're always going on about something. They always need something. They're always sick. You know, it's just an ongoing list. But again, those houses suck that energy in. It's almost like when you walk in, you're just overtaken by it, and then your energy becomes that energy. So noticing little things like this. So that's another example. That being said, it's such an easy fix. You can go through your house and you sage it. You know, it's very basic. You go buy a sage wand. You know, if you're in where I'm around in New Hampshire, go to Alakai's, or you can go to Time to Heal Herbs, you know, or somewhere like that, and pick one up. And you can find them. They're not at Walmart, but you can find them. And you get it. You bring it to your house. You light it, and you literally go through every single corner of your house, stating the intent that everything is going to be fine. Whatever is there must leave, and that the only thing welcome in your space or in that space is happiness and light. And you imagine that light being filling the entire house. That's one way to do it. But there's other different things that go into it, but that's the basic thing. And along with that, always before you go out and decide to sage your house, you have to make sure you're protected in the easiest way. And that's more videos to come, teaching kind of the meditating techniques and what you can do. But the easiest way to protect yourself is literally take 5 minutes, if that, sit down, take a couple breaths, and imagine literally like a triangle coming down over you of light. Then imagine yourself kind of in a bubble. I'm constantly in a bubble. Imagine yourself in a bubble and state that intention that nothing, absolutely nothing, can come through unless you allow it. That protects you. And you can use that simple visualization for your whole house. You can use it for other people, so on and so forth. And that's something I'll elaborate on furthermore with other videos. I now have another idea, so that's perfect. But anyway, doing that and saging your house, and you'll find that immediately that energy changes. But again, the number one key, as with anything spiritual, metaphysical, so on and so forth, is you have to believe it. You, of course, you can hire someone like me to do it, but it's something you can do on your own. And of course, if you don't see any progress, then maybe it's time to ask somebody else. But, believe in yourself, believe that you can do it, and you'll find immediately that energy changes. It did in my house. When I got in here and I saged it, immediately the demeanor changed. And there was actually I don't know if she was necessarily attached to the house or if she was attached to the property. This house is a fairly new house, so I'm not thinking it was the house. But I saged and I got into one of the upstairs bedrooms, and my mom had politely asked me not to sage it. So I just kind of did a drive-by saging, and I didn't really focus on anything. Well, that night there were several different experiences that happened. And the next day, needless to say, she asked me to sage a room. So I went in there and I started saging. And at this point, I'm pissed because I'm like, come to me. Just come to me. I will talk to you. I'll figure it out. We'll deal with it. We'll work with it. Didn't come to me. But instead was a very mischievous, oh, there's my dog. But a very mischievous spirit. And, so I go in there and I start saging, and all of a sudden I start hearing, I'm sorry. So I opened the window and I said, you're welcome to leave now. And that was it. That was literally it. So, you can, like I said, I've given you the basic steps of kind of cleansing your own house. But, you're always welcome to reach out to me if you ever need any kind of pointers or anything like that. I can go more in depth. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off because it's almost 15 minutes. So I don't want to keep drawing it out, and God knows I could. But, I'm really, really going to try to start getting on a schedule and posting things every week or so. And next week, I think it's going to be meditating, unless you people get your questions in. Get your questions in, and I will answer them. But anyway, for now, take care. And if you have any questions, hit me up. My new website is http:// //www.mysticangela.org, and you can email me through there, or you can look me up on Facebook. Either or, and I'm always there to answer your questions. So anyway, I look forward to hearing from you.